Hi, so in preparing for this discussion, I did go over the ACA Code of Ethics and the Texas Board referring to the informed consent, and they both lined up and required the same information. The informed consent that I found online, first off, it was 4 pages, but it was very detailed and a very easy read. There was nothing too complicated or terms that even if I wasn't a student in this field, would be able to understand. It starts out, and it's kind of cute. It starts out, "Dear client." It's just a couple of sentences kind of telling them what they will be reading. And then it talks about their background, and this is where it talks a little bit about, it doesn't go into detail about the exact areas that they treat, but it does say that they have, several counselors, and they have different specialties and credentials. They talk about their philosophy. They talk about their client-patient relationship, kind of go into detail about that, what they can accept, the limitations. They talk about the risk and benefits of counseling. And then they have a pretty extensive section on working with minors. Now, neither the ACA or the Texas Board requires that in their informed consent, but they, like I said, have a pretty extensive area here about wanting to work with both parents. They must see a lot of children, wanting to work with both parents. And they do also mention that Texas does require a court order or divorce decree to be on file. If that is the situation for the minor, you have to have the divorce decree or a court order on file. And so they do mention that. And like I said, it's pretty extensive in that. Then next they talk about confidentiality and, kind of go into that and the use of technology. They talk about the limitations of limitations of confidentiality. And again, very detailed. And then they start talking about the fees. They talk about their private pay rates, and then types, what they will accept for payment. They talk about if your card declines. And then they have some other kind of just random fees. They have like a little chart, like if you want your records or FMLA disability paperwork. They kind of have that. A funny one was they have extensive email response. It's $10 per email. So they're really letting you know financially what you'll be expected, what they expect from you, or if you need something different. And then next thing, they do have the address to, if you wanted to make a complaint to the board, they do have the address. And then they have the spot to sign. So like I said, it was pretty detailed and had a lot of really good information. The only thing that it did not have that the ACA and Texas Board do require is transfer of records. Like if the practice was to go out of business, or one of the therapists was to leave the practice, or, pass away, there's no mention of that in this informed consent. And I know that is required by both ACA and the Texas Board. So that would be the only thing that I would say this consent is lacking. And lastly, I did read a study performed by Bears and Guthill regarding the informed consent. And it says that having an informed consent can create a positive outcome by enhancing the autonomy and responsibility of the client. So basically, I took it that, when the client has that, it lets them know what to expect from their counselor and what their counselor expects of them. And so I think, when you know what's expected of you going into something, there's always going to be a better outcome. So I found that really interesting. Anyway, I really enjoyed this topic and researching this. It was really eye-opening, kind of seeing an actual one, related to how they're supposed to be. Thank you.